The following is rated not safe for work. It contains strong language, adult situations, and lots of spoilers. Discretion is advised.
In the criminal justice system, cinematic-based offenses are considered especially heinous. The dedicated attorneys who investigate these villainous films are members of an elite squad known as the Reels of Justice. These are their stories.
Order, please, order. The Reels of Justice is now in session. Judge Big Ben Haslar presiding. Your eyes for the Honorable Judge Haslar. Be seated. Welcome to the Reels of Justice, a courtroom where sequels evolve from films. There's got to be an answer. And as such, today we're hearing the case of The People versus Escape from the Planet of the Apes, which is actually the third installment of the Planet of the Apes franchise. It is a 1971 sci-fi movie that follows Cornelius and Zira as they time travel back into 1970s America. No mention of poor Dr. Milo. For those of you unfamiliar with our court proceedings, we are here to determine if this film is guilty of being a bad movie. As always in this courtroom, films are considered excellent until proven awful, and the burden of proof lies upon the prosecution to prove beyond a shadow of reasonable doubt that this film is guilty. Mr. Jonathan Leaf, you are representing the prosecution. You may present your opening statement.
Well, I'm going to make a contradictory statement here. I'm going to actually make it, I guess I'm a terrible lawyer, but one thing you could say on behalf of this film is it doesn't have Charlton Heston, who I think is a terrible ham actor. But other than that, I don't think it has much going for it. I'm so old that I actually remember the 4:30 movie. I don't know if people know what that was. But it used to be on at 4:30. City. Does anybody know this?
It's a movie on at 4:30.
Yeah, well, they used to have this thing in New York. It was bizarre. If you go back to the 70s, they would put on a movie. You know, movies with commercials aren't an hour and a half. So what they would do was they would put on a movie one day, let's say Tuesday, and it would not end, and it would end at 6:00. But it would you wouldn't have seen the whole movie. So the next day it would start again at 4:30. But it wasn't a 3-hour movie with commercials, so it would actually start pretty close to where it ended. Not where it ended, but where it started the day before. And you just watch 40 minutes all over again.
Jeez.
So I saw this movie in that way as a child, and I thought it was a terrible movie. But it's also partly the problem that I was watching it as one of the 4:30 movies. So I acknowledge that. But, it had Roddy McDowall, who was English, and apparently a lovely guy. But not a great actor, I think it's safe to say. A likable actor, not a great actor. And the plot bears no correspondence with reality. It's about how chimps are incredibly intelligent animals, and we just failed to recognize that for decades. As I should point out that I'm the author of this new book, The Primate Myth, which has been getting lots of attention. I'll shamelessly mention it was covered in National Review. It was in The Spectator. It was excerpted in the New York Post. And the point of my book is that actually chimps aren't very smart. In fact, people may not know this, but they actually did worse on intelligence tests that were given to them than macaques. Those are 15 to 20 pound monkeys. They did worse on tests of pattern recognition of flashing lights than, get this, rats. They did only barely better. In fact, about the same as chickens.
Planet of the Chickens. We could have had it.
Planet of the Chickens, baby.
They don't learn as many words as dogs. So the idea, and nor are they particularly cooperative. So the idea, even allowing that Roddy McDowall is the head ape, that they could suddenly take over human society. And I know in the movie, there's some explanation that this baby is a special chimp baby who somehow, there's a circus, as I recall. Somehow the baby winds up being exchanged for another baby, shades of the Moses and the bulrush story. And this leads to some kind of worldwide cataclysm, along with nuclear war, which destroys humans, but apparently doesn't destroy apes. The whole thing is really stupid. And more than that, it's just not that entertaining.
Thank you, Mr. Leaf. I hear Groundhog Day was an excellent 4:30 movie. Appearing on behalf of the defense, it's Maynard Bangs. Please present your opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. You want entertainment, Jonathan? I got you.
Oh, no.
I had a different stupid opening statement in mind, Your Honor, but then I thought of this one when I was making chicken nuggets like 20 minutes ago. So I'm doing this now. So
Damn it.
now, as is tradition in the courts on the planet of the apes, they always open session with the singing of the national anthem of the planet of the apes, which I know we all know and love. So sing along if you know it, but don't really, you'll fuck me up. Okay. National anthem of the planet of the apes. If God weren't an ape, what would he be? Would he be some weird kind of bird? Or like a turtle or a super smart computer? Or something else beside an ape like he is now? But yeah, God is an ape. Yeah, for sure an ape. Yeah. But what if God was not an ape? More like a dog and not an ape. Or like a frog and not an ape, which we all know, of course, he is. Because, of course, I mean he is. Because, I mean, what else would he be? Thank you, Your Honor. Play ball.
I don't know. I don't think that was worth making the courthouse microwave smell like chicky nuggies.
The national anthem for a
Don't
planet.
Thank you. You don't cook them in a microwave. You disgust me.
Mr. Leaf, would please expound with your first exhibit.
Well, by the way, I just want to make another point here, and I think a very important one. The original Planet of the Apes had something going for it, speaking of music, which is hard to ignore. The composer was Jerry Goldsmith, who was one of the best of all the Hollywood composers, really a bona fide genius. We know him from some schlocky movies like Basic Instinct and Total Recall, but he really wrote some fantastic scores, including for Chinatown. But by the time they got to Escape from the Planet of the Apes, they couldn't really spend much money. It was a low-budget film. As we mentioned, it didn't have Heston in it. So Goldsmith really, maybe they used a couple themes of his, but Goldsmith wasn't really involved. So I think the music was a major issue with that film, or movie might be more precise.
I'll make an objection. I mean, yes, but Jerry Goldsmith is credited for doing the music on this one. And I actually, one of the first things I wrote when the opening theme struck in this movie, that I really like the opening theme. I think I can't remember very much from the rest of it, but the opening theme is striking and makes me ready for some Planet of the Apes sci-fi. You know, when they pull their helmets off and that theme hits and you see they're the apes, I think you're ready for a movie about apes.
And for clarification, this theme is new, original to Escape from and not reused from the first film.
Oh, I did not listen to the other films. I don't know.
Does Ryan know? He does.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, the one time we needed
also, by the way, just give a little background. Maybe this is not making a prosecutorial case, but a lot of people don't know, actually, the original film was based on a book by Pierre Boulle, who also wrote Bridge on the River Kwai. And he did something quite clever, which is not in the movie. The book is taken from the point of view of these two figures who are investigating the possibility that there was some past civilization involving humans, which was advanced. And it's only at the end of the book that we find out that they are, in fact, apes themselves. They're chimps. And then they just reject it out of hands. Humans could never be that bright. That's clever. The movie ends with the whole thing with the original movie ends with that whole thing with the Statue of Liberty. The Escape from the Planet of the Apes didn't really have anything like that. It didn't have that third act reveal that you're like, oh my God, who knew? So that was a problem.
I'll make an objection. I'll be comparing this third film to the first film quite a bit as part of my case, because I think that they both hold up very well together. Especially in comparison. But I think this one does offer a great twist ending. Now, nothing can live up to the original. And I do think that the book sounds good, but I mean, the visual quality of the Statue of Liberty on that beach, that's one of the best sci-fi movie endings, or movie endings, period. You really can't compare with it. But this one I still think is deeply satisfying. And it shows that this film doesn't just know how to preserve the world of the prior films, which I think it does, but also how to set up the next film in the series for success. We find out Zira and Cornelius' son survive and goes on to live in Ricardo Montalban's circus, leaving a very appreciable jumping off point for the next screenwriter, which happened to be the very same screenwriter, Paul Dane, again. So talk about a win. He was setting himself up for a big victory, especially coming out of Beneath, where his whole planet was blown up. You know, he only had so many places to go. But we'll talk about that more. But I think the ending is pretty satisfying in that you still need some kind of surprise, and I think it gives you one.
Can I just jump in there? What were the
do we know
keywords
the
in what you just said? Ricardo Montalban and circus.
Yeah. Ricardo Montalban can't own a circus.
He's banning hard in this film.
he's a competent businessman, I believe, and a showman. So I completely believe him in the role as Armando, the circus owner.
I mean, but would you have more desire to see Ricardo Montalban's circus or Ricardo Montalban with Hervé Vachon saying, boss, de plane. I mean, it's the same level of entertainment, I would say.
I don't think so. I do like, I don't know the actor's name. I call him Knick Knack from the James Bond movie. Fantasy Island is fine and all that. But no, I think Montalban, he's a colorful, likable character because they've chosen that actor who I think is very likable too. You instantly like and trust Armando too. So I think it's very good casting.
All right. Mr. Leaf, would you care to present another exhibit?
Well, I want to shamelessly talk about my book for just a second.
Sure, I'll allow it.
Yeah, I want to try and persuade people to buy my book. I think it's an important book. One of the points it makes is that humans are classified as primates, apes, but we actually don't even meet the definitional requirement of the order. Not only are we a domesticated animal, which apes are not. In fact, there are no primates at all, even including capuchin monkeys, the so-called organ grinder monkeys, who are classified as domesticated. They're all extremely violent and dangerous. Almost all.
The kind of
cats, even, for instance, are quite. I've talked to people who worked in the lab. They're quite, even though they're only about 15 or 20 pounds, they're quite dangerous. Chimps are incredibly dangerous. Bonobos are supposed to be like these lovable hippie chimps. If you actually read the zoo guides, they say if they get free, shoot to kill, which, by the way, is not the order for big cats like tigers and lions and cheetahs, which can obviously kill us very easily. So we're domesticated. They're not. We use language. They don't. They're not particularly good at learning language. As we mentioned, dogs can learn a lot more words. You know, we know that dolphins and parrots name their children. Obviously, chimps will never do that. And we're cooperative, which is a key point, by the way, about the problem with all these Planet of the Apes movies. In all these Planet of the Apes movies, including the ones with James Franco, you're constantly seeing the apes being enormously cooperative. But apes are not cooperative animals. And as we've learned about through neuroscience in recent years, the parts of the brain that are associated with empathy and that make species capable of cooperation are quite different in apes than they are in humans, and in fact, in most other placental mammals. They're really designed to be animals that fight with each other all the time, as they in fact do. But we don't even meet the definitional requirement of the primate order, which you won't hear often from primatologists. The definitional requirements are to have flat nails, which we do have, not claws. The other thing is that you're supposed to have prehensile feet. Those are feet that are made for climbing trees, because that's where primates live. They live in trees. Even gorillas during the dry season will climb trees and eat leaves. That's what they do. I don't know too many humans who climb trees and eat tree leaves. We don't really do that. So, you know, I think you could just as well, instead of using primates in a movie that's supposed to be about humans yielding control over the earth, you could just as well use elephants or whales, or, you know, there are a lot of things you could do that would work better and are much less ugly, by the way, too. You know, and I do think the best thing probably about the original movie, even more than the Jerry Goldsmith score or the big reveal at the end, which I guess we're giving away for people who may not have seen it. The whole thing.
Oh yeah.
There's a spoiler alert at the beginning.
The best thing, of course, is the Charlton Heston line. I'll leave it to someone else to say.
Ryan,
get your hands off me, you damn dirty ape.
Yes.
I'll say it later. May I step in with some objections? I don't really want to debate science clearly with someone, a scientist.
No, you're well versed in
of a higher order.
No.
That said, humans made up all the rules of what classified primates based on your definition. So I think it's a little convenient that suddenly it doesn't apply to them anymore. Like suddenly apes have to be cooperative. Says who? So, who made that up? Humans? Forget it. Their classification's not worth much to me.
I'm agreeing with
but-
you. That's why people should buy my book.
But as far as why is it apes? One, this is not an argument about the third film, because this is the third film, so it has to be apes now. So if you want to debate why it is in the first one, okay, but it has to be apes now by the third one. But at least in the first one, there's a pre-existing book, so that's why it's apes. And why did they choose apes? Well, you can put people in ape masks, and it's a lot less uncanny and creepy than if they were like rats or whales. You ever tried to put anyone in almost any other kind of mask and make it seem like they convincingly talk? I don't think it works with anything else beside ape, really, without it being really kind of scary. As far as could they possibly learn to cooperate? Well, we're not talking about the kind of apes that exist now. These would be apes after a few generations of domestication further in houses. They served as pets for quite a while, which also means their diet is going to change. They're probably going to start getting a lot more protein. Now, it takes a long time for brains to grow, but I imagine they're going to be smarter and stronger from a better diet. So, and they would have then been trained to cooperate and create societies. So what I'm saying is they're a different breed of ape than what we can compare to. It's a sci-fi story within a different world, and I think we can put other kind of classifications on it.
They're not domesticable, but getting back to film, or as that, two syllables, film. Getting back to film, let's compare it to some really successful series of movies, action movies. What was the third film in the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly series?
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah.
Yes. And before that, they had it for a few dollars more. It's actually my favorite.
That's the second one.
James Bond. What was the third film?
Goldfinger.
Goldfinger.
Yep.
I think it was Goldfinger, wasn't it?
Yep.
Correct. Yes. And you know who co-wrote Goldfinger?
No.
Paul Dehn, the screenwriter who wrote Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
All connected.
Well, sometimes he was at his top and sometimes he wasn't.
And sometimes he was both. And it was in both these cases. He was both.
That was the third Highlander film.
I don't think anyone would say, gee, I've got it. They're gonna have a showing in film form and you can see Goldfinger or you can see Escape from the Planet of the Apes. Maybe somebody would. I think
I live in a world where I don't choose, Jonathan. I go to both.
I think a lot of people would say
it's a Paul Dehn double feature.
I got to get dinner. I already saw Goldfinger, so.
They're missing out, Jonathan. I don't know what to tell you. They're gonna miss Escape from the Planet of the Apes, and it's gonna be dope. That Jerry Goldsmith's theme is gonna slap as soon as they take the helmet off. Everyone's gonna
here's another question: why do people see B movies like B science fiction movies? Some of it is that they want to see actors with great sex appeal in form-fitting outfits, right? I mean, that's why people watch Star Trek to some extent. Everything was very tight, and you got to see whether it was Terry Garr or whomever it might be.
Tasha Yar.
Who was it?
I don't know.
Denise Crosby is who you're talking about, Maynard. Denise Crosby.
Anyway, no one wants to see apes in form-fitting costumes.
Wrong. Wrong. I think a very quick cursory glance of something called the internet will prove exactly how wrong you are about this, Jonathan.
Let's not bring those Google phones out quite yet.
I promise you're not correct. You're not correct about that. But I love the old B sci-fi movies. I like practical effects, so that's why I watch them. Frankly, I don't think there's ever been a time in film where beautiful women haven't been involved. Like, we could go to pretty much any generation of film, and they're there in form-fitting outfits. So I think you get that from pretty much everywhere.
Linda Harrison was the beautiful woman in Planet of the Apes. Is she in it? Does she have any role in Escape? I've forgotten. Escape.
No. You were supposed to rewatch it, not at the 4:30 movie either.
I know for a fact she's in the second film. But
she is, yes. Nova is in the second film, but then the second film, the planet blows up. Remember, we've gone back in time. We're on Earth now, Jonathan. We're on Earth. Right. They're all dead.
Where's the beautiful woman?
Kim Hunter.
Kim Hunter was reasonably attractive, but not wearing an ape suit.
No. Come on. I think there's definitely some appeal here. And yeah, this movie, if you're gonna say it's lacking something, I guess there is a bit of that eye candy lacking. I gotta tell you, I didn't really notice there is the doctor's assistant. who helps rescue Cornelius, saves him in the car. She's a pretty young girl. So if you're desperate for something like that, but I think this movie has a little bit more to offer. I think there's you mentioned Star Trek. I think there's some real heavy themes and philosophy shared, especially when you look at the scenes that involve Dr. Haslar. Especially when he has that conversation with President Jehoshaphat. I don't know his name. I didn't learn it. But anyway, they have a pretty seriously heavy conversation over the phone about the morality of killing the two apes and their offspring because of what they would go on to do. You kind of got that Minority Report sort of dilemma on there. The president poses a central ethical question. Given the power to alter the future, have we the right to use it? Now, that's the type of highfalutin philosophy mixed with sci-fi that appeals to fans of other sci-fi properties, like, let's say, Star Trek or Star Trek Next Generation. The president brings up what they're doing, compares it to killing baby Hitler. He mentions the massacre of the innocents committed by King Herod in the New Testament. This is not a hacker. I think there are some very serious themes and questions of morality raised here. And this is one of my favorite lines Dr. Haslar says. He says, "It's a rolling stone with enough poison moss to kill us all," which has to be the worst analogy of all time, and just shows
it's metaphor.
Exactly. And it shows how much stress Dr. Haslar was under at that time. That was the best analogy you could think of. That's character development, Jonathan. You got to get on this movie's level.
It sounds like the writer, what was his name again?
Paul Dane.
Yeah, that he was stoned. That's what it sounds like.
Yes, but everyone was. Weren't you there watching? Why do you think the 4:30 movie only went 90 minutes and had to start again the next day, Jonathan? Because you were all.
The idea of the 4:30
no one could stay awake past 6. So
I think the writer must have been stoned to write that.
I'd also like to admit, Paul Dane, not only did he wrote Beneath, he would go on to write Conquest and Battle. So he writes 4 of the 5 Planet of the Apes movies. He keeps himself going.
Did he actually did they put a tombstone on his grave, or they were wiser than that?
I don't know. You got to put a tombstone on people's grave, otherwise it's not a grave. I think it's just a burial. It's just a hole.
Wanted to, keep it anonymous at that point.
No.
Mr. Leaf, did you have any other exhibits before we pass on to the defense? And you can object to anything that he brings up.
Don't do it though.
If this is in fact a masterpiece or even a competent film, why is it never shown in revival cinema? I mean, we're talking about Sergio Leone, for instance. You can see these Sergio Leone films, not only on TV all the time, but they show them in retrospective series. It's by the way, interestingly, about the original, the first Planet of the Apes, one of the people that they approached about directing it was Blake Edwards. By the way, speaking of another series, the third film, I guess actually the third film was Return of the Pink Panther. And that's a fantastic movie. That's an amazing.
I don't know what these third movies and series proves necessarily, because I mean I could say The Godfather Part 3. This is certainly a better Part 3 than that.
No, I totally disagree. The Godfather Part 3 is not a terrible movie. It's just not a
we've already done it. It was not guilty.
Coda. But when you rename it as Coda, it's okay.
Yeah, that's not a terrible movie. It's just not a good movie. But this is a terrible movie.
No, it's not.
For a series to have some lasting. Oh, the other thing too is you notice that the budgets kept going down, which is never a sign that the studio has any confidence in what they're doing. If the movies had been good, the budgets would have gone up, as happened, for instance, with the James Bond movies.
Incorrect. Objection. First off, number one, the second movie already got a considerably lower budget than the first. So even though the first one was a huge success, it cost like $6 million and made like 40 or something. And so based on your argument, the budget should have gone up. They still had only capped it at about 5, and then they cut it to 2.5. For Beneath. And that was because other projects, that's because other projects didn't do well around that time.
Wait. Did he work on that script too?
Who? Paul Dane did work on Beneath. He worked on the second, correct.
I think that explains a lot.
No, it doesn't, because you're not listening to my point about the budget.
Yeah.
You see, Beneath had basically the exact same budget here, and it was still a runaway success. It ended up making $19 million. Beneath was a surprise success for 20th Century Fox. It's weird to us, but they did not expect the Planet of the Apes sequel to do well, and it did, and it surprised them. So they rushed out the third one.
They read the script. I think what you're saying is they read the script.
I guess but everyone apparently seemed to like it. So it did very well. It made a lot of money. And then the point is, this one got $2 million. So it actually did not go down very much from Beneath, and it still made 12. So if your argument is about budget, this thing made all of its money back. Plus it was profitable. So I don't know why we'd argue budget.
We're supposed to have some sex appeal. I have heard women say that who detested Heston mostly for his politics, but they have said they loved seeing Heston, his torso, his stature. But again, Heston is not in the third film. You get to see people in ape costumes.
That's what people go to Planet of the Apes movies for. If you don't want to see people in apes costumes, you're at the wrong damn movie. Go watch Goldfinger. It's going to have all your sex appeal and all your male torsos that you're going to want.
Goldfinger was a gigantic success.
Yes. We've talked about it. We love it. But we're talking about Escape from the Planet of the Apes now, which is also a success. It also made a bunch of money.
Here's a question I have to ask you, which is, it's not prosecutorial, but just in nature. Which film are you more likely to want to escape? Escape from the Planet of the Apes or Escape from New York?
Oh, that's also not on trial. But I don't know. I'd probably split
them
about even.
Right
I want to escape from this argumentation if we could.
There you go.
Let's move on.
Get this back on the rails, Your Honor.
Let's move on to the defense. Do you have any exhibits you'd like to bring up, and we'll let Mr. Leaf object to them?
Has he rested? He's all good?
Are you good to rest?
I'll make sure.
Sure. I guess I was being argumentative, so I'll probably continue to be argumentative.
You're allowed to be. That's the point, and I want to make sure you've gotten all your arguments out.
No. But legally, argumentative is objectionable.
Not here. We like it.
Okay.
We're not a real court. We're a silly. Didn't you hear me sing for my opening statement? We're not a real court. I made up a national anthem.
As long as you respect the gavel.
I don't like when you do the sound over it. Anyway, so I guess we'll move on to me. So first thing I want to bring up is that I think this film is a perfect example of how to do a sequel. Like I mentioned, the end of the last film had the Planet of the Apes blow up. As a screenwriter, you've been written into a corner, all because Charlton Heston wants out of your little ape series. So where the hell can you go now? The only place left to go: forward into the past. And while this would feel trite or desperate in almost any other series, it so perfectly suits this one, in which time travel already played a prominent role. It does nothing to contradict the prior films. Instead, it continues to build that universe and make it deeper, very adequately picking up where the last one left off, which did not share with us the fate of Cornelius or Zira, pretty much the only sympathetic ape characters we've come to know from the first two movies. It's wonderful to find out they did not die in the explosion that destroyed the planet, because we like them. And both Kim Hunter and Roddy McDowall returned to reprise these roles. McDowall was actually not Cornelius in the second film, Beneath. He was off directing a movie, actually. So someone else played him. So it's a great thing to see Roddy return to his role here. And this would be, I think, one of the very few projects that he's not involved in. I know earlier it was said Roddy McDowall's not a good actor. I completely disagree. I'll touch on it a little bit more, but I think Roddy McDowall is wonderful and one of the things that makes this film and this universe work.
What do you think about the time loop here, Mr. Prosecutor? Does it kind of add to the mythology here?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I don't think it does.
Maybe we should go back, and if we can go back in time just a second there, I'll have a clever quip, but I don't think so.
All right, you load up a clever quip, but what I think is great about this idea of taking Cornelius and Zira, displacing them to a time where humans still dominate the planet, is it allows the film to draw so many parallels, firstly, between the two societies. I think especially in the scene where Cornelius attends the boxing match, and also where he witnesses the ruthless interrogation tactics of the CIA, but especially that boxing match kind of sticks with me, where he calls them beasts. we're to understand that the nature of man has much more in common with that of the gorillas and the orangutans than the pacifist chimpanzees of Cornelius' time. Now, I know that they'll say, yes, chimpanzees right now in our times, not pacifist, very dangerous, very violent. I completely agree. But in the future, 2,000 years, where they learn to speak and they learn science and they're more human, they're pacifists, they're monks and stuff.
Okay, so this is totally ridiculous because our split from chimps took place over 300,000 plus generations. You can't do it in 2,000 years. But
it couldn't be done in 2,000 years by itself. Objection. Can't just happen by itself, but with man intervening and breeding and giving growth hormone and various interferences, I think they can be genetically altered to be more intelligent.
Isn't that the James Franco movie? That's a different movie.
No, this movie
the time loop play into this one because like they're advanced apes like traveling back, and it's the baby here that like sort of propagates the future apes.
Right, exactly. So not only do you have them becoming more intelligent over time, they double back and get to live another 2,000 years in advance to get even more intelligent. But the point is, this is not evolution acting on its own. Man is stepping in. What would the banana look like today if we never messed with it? Now add in human domestication and farming and crossbreeding and all that. Now the banana looks different. Same thing. We're meddling with things we shouldn't meddle with, and things turn out zany.
I hate ourselves.
But
do you not eat GMO?
I do generally tend to lean towards the organic, but I mean, not so much. I don't run from it. I mean, if something's GMO, I mean, it's GMO. Most of the processed stuff is. So I more dislike what those companies do to little farms. Eat a what?
Ho-ho.
No, I do not eat a ho-ho.
What about ding
the
dong?
little cakes? No, man. I'm not 7 anymore. My body can't take that. I eat a ho-ho, I'll be in bed for 3 days. Are you kidding me?
RFK and the Department of Health is one courthouse over. We'll leave that where it is.
The head of Health and Human Services, he would never allow any of this kind of experimentation.
We don't know who is in office in this. We see who's the president in this, and
we know it's the 70s.
And we agree. President Jehoshaphat is an unusually sympathetic president to see in any kind of movie. I think a very reasonable character who might have political reasons for the way he feels, but I think he's an interesting character. But I also like to touch on that there are several scenes and elements that deliberately mirror that of the first film. In fact, I know the movie or the book was brought up and the author was brought up, but the screenwriter, Paul Dane, actually consulted with the author of the original book on the screenplay for Escape to re-inject some satirical elements to it. And so I think you can really see that Zira and Cornelius's time in 1973 Earth is really meant to parallel Taylor's on the Planet of the Apes in a lot of smart ways. Both the apes and Taylor's crash land in bodies of water. In fact, the apes return to Earth in Taylor's ship, which was repaired by Dr. Milo. They also don't speak for the first act or so, and while that was an injury to Taylor's throat that prevented him from speaking, here the apes choose to diplomatically remain silent until, of course, they have the great comedic moment of Zira saying, "I loathe bananas." It's nothing like the tense moment when Heston first says, "You damn dirty ape." There's no danger. It's basically funny. And it's same with Cornelius's. I laughed. Yes, I did laugh. And I'll bet you audiences laughed too, because they were all really high back then, Jonathan.
Well, in other words, if you're on drugs, it's an excellent movie.
No, because I think most movies are more excellent when you're on drugs. So I don't
Rules
think
of the Game is a better movie when you're on drugs.
Absolutely. The performances are very intense. All those performances. Can I go back here? Anyway.
I think we can, yeah.
So, same with Cornelius is perfectly delivered only when she lets me at the hearing. Don't tell me you didn't laugh at that, Jonathan. Maybe only because I don't think you watched it since the 430 movie.
I haven't seen the movie in a long time.
Now, exactly.
And I didn't have that much of a sense of humor when I was a kid, but...
a lot of this is beginning to become clear. Anyway, so that happens at the hearing, which is also very reminiscent of the one held in the original film, but it's a lot lighter, right? It's funny, right? There's no danger here in the apes. The humans are.
So there's no drama, you're saying?
No, I still think there's drama, but it's more on the comedy on a light side. No. Just because there's not danger doesn't mean there's not drama. Because the danger comes later. There's just not danger there in that hearing. Their situation gets more dangerous as time goes on, whereas Heston's almost gets a little bit less dangerous. But anyway, continuing back onto it, so I think the trial is also very reminiscent of the one held in the original film, where Heston is grilled by Dr. Zaius. Here in the sequel, the apes are confronted by a human named Dr. Haslar, whose shrewdness and cunning I think is also meant to act as a parallel to the original orangutan antagonist. And a lot like Dr. Zaius, Haslar is a great antagonist because he's not really a villain. He doesn't take pleasure in the suffering of others. He's kind of pragmatic. He isn't wrong. The apes do pose an existential threat to human existence. He's kind of right to wipe them out. Dr. Zaius wasn't really wrong either. Taylor was not good for ape society. It ended up exactly working out that way. So I think they're great complex characters because they're not evil. They're more complicated than that, and I think that makes it very interesting.
I wonder if you can respond to this. One of the problems of the movie is that because the apes were the central characters, are all wearing these stupid masks, which we can all buy at Halloween at what's that party store that everybody
Halloween
goes?
Adventure.
Spirit Halloween.
No,
oh yeah, you're right. It's Spirit Halloween. Halloween Adventure is the one in New York.
But anyway, because they're very inexpressive faces, and the truth is, if you want to see a movie with apes that has an expressive actor, you really have to watch Clint Eastwood's Every Which Way But Loose. That is a much better movie than Escape from the Planet of the Apes, partly because the ape character gives a better performance.
Well, but it is. Yeah, it's an actual orangutan, whereas these are beings that evolved from apes, really, right? I mean, they're more humanoid. So
they're humans wearing these stupid masks.
That's not the characters in the movie, and the characters in the movie are meant to have evolved and be different from apes themselves.
For us, we admit, for us as the audience, we're seeing performances.
Yes, and
which
you have
inexpressive because
incorrect
of the masks.
But thank you so much. You've actually
performances. We have to watch the Clint Eastwood movies.
You've brought up actually my final point. And you've walked right into it, right into my trap, which is what a great cast this is. Roddy McDowall and Kim Hunter do such a wonderful job. And as the only actors in this movie in makeup, if they didn't take themselves dead seriously, it would fall apart. But they do. Despite being the only ones in makeup, they manage to have more dignity than anyone they share the screen with. And that is special. You lose them in the role. Even though, as I said, it's always been a rough prosthesis. I mean, watch the first movie. It's a very, very rough prosthesis. But great actors like this, you can still pick up their emotions. It's so much in the eyes. And that's why I think both Roddy and Kim are great, because it is so much there in the eyes. Less talented actors could not pull it off. They vastly make up for any lack of budget this film has. I'd also like to mention, as I mentioned, Dr. Haslar as a character, but he's portrayed very well by Eric Bradeen, who, of course, would go on to be every one of our granny's worst nightmares as Victor Newman in The Young and the Restless.
That's him?
Yes. That's Victor Newman. And how could I not mention Ricardo Montalban? We touched on him a little bit, but he does a great job as Armando. I'm just always happy to see him.
It sounds like there's a lot of great acting in this film.
Yes. If you had watched it since the 1970s 430 movie, you would have known that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I will rest on that, Your Honor. All right. Do you have that clever quip, Jonathan?
No, sadly. We're an ape. I'm sure I'd have one, right?
Well, there's still some time. Both sides have rested their cases. The attorneys will now present their closing arguments. Mr. Leaf, you may begin.
Okay, so I'm shamelessly using this as an opportunity to promote my book, which people should read. It has been getting lots of press notice, and it deals with important questions having to do with the nature of humanity. One of the most important things about humans is that we seek an identity, and we seek an identity, a distinctive identity, as being part of a group. And the experience of going to a movie and seeing a movie in a theater is a wonderful way to experience that. But you don't want to see a bad movie. You want to see a good movie, and you want to laugh collectively. You want to cry collectively. You want to howl collectively. You want to do all these things in a really profound way with other people. This is the kind of movie that's a little hard to do. You're more likely to kind of get bored and walk off, or even throw things at the screen. or even
Not
more,
my
you're
screen.
probably likely to go see it and say, wouldn't this be more interesting if I were seeing this at the zoo with other primates?
Ooh,
I would go to that.
I like that idea.
But they're very dangerous, Jonathan. I don't know if you know that.
They're very dangerous. You want to know an amazing statistic? Because essentially they're constantly telling us chimps and bonobos are like us. I think I mentioned that the zoo guys actually tell you if they escape that they're shoot to kill, which is not true with big cats, though they're able to kill us very quickly. There was a study done of how often they observed primatologists observed chimps killing each other, and they found the average primatologist in 8 years of watching chimps, usually through binoculars, will see a chimp corpse killed by another chimp within 8 years, and within 3 years, and within 8 years they will actually see a chimp kill another chimp. So they kill each other a lot. It's
those rates are worse than the NHL.
Hey, it's closing statement time. No objection time.
And they don't beat Canada either. So But anyway, I think that we have to acknowledge the obvious, which is that it's not a very funny movie. It's not all that suspenseful. It tries to make a human drama out of apes, which is silly. It doesn't have sex appeal. I don't think most people are more interested in seeing people in ape costumes than Linda Harrison and Charlton Heston wearing some kind of skin. It attracted a certain weirdo 1970s audience, which as the defense has acknowledged, was probably stoned. It just hasn't stood up very well. Actually, a better movie, which I did see, was the James Franco movie, which is kind of an interesting movie because it deals with real science. The potential that you could actually come up with drugs which would alter brain development, things like that.
Sounds like
also, it had really amazing special effects, not practical effects, but special effects.
CGI. Thank you, Mr. Leaf. Mr. Bangs, please present your closing argument.
Those rates are worse than the NHL. There you go. I'll use it all I want, Your Honor. Well, Your Honor, I already used a different stupid opening statement, but I didn't want to just throw this one away. So I recycled it into my closing statement. Roddy's got a gun. Roddy's got a gun. He and Zira had bore a son, the seed of the ape rebellion. Now what did Dr. Haslar do to taste Hot Roddy's 22? He killed the little baby monkey. The man it ought to be ashamed. Wow, 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 wow. Now it wasn't the right monkey, but still it wasn't very nice to kill it all the same. Escape from the planet of the apes. Yeah, 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 yeah. I said escape from the planet of the apes. Roddy's got a gun. Roddy's got a gun. Not done yet. He and Zara had bore a son, the seed of the ape rebellion. Now you take it, Your Honor.
2 songs for the price of 1 trial.
I didn't know I was going to think of the other one when I was making chicky nuggies. It's not my fault.
Thank you all. Members of the jury, Mr. Dylan J. Schlender, Mr. Big Ben Haslar, and Mr. You're the second human I've kissed, Ryan Luis Rodriguez. You have all heard the facts concerning this case. It is now up to you to determine if this film is guilty of being a bad movie. The bailiff will escort you to the deliberation room to render your verdict. Right this way, and you're the first, Ryan Luis Rodriguez.
USA.
Freaking nailed it. I had that joke in my back pocket to kiss Ryan, but the bailiff doing it is so much better.
Okay, gentlemen, what are we thinking, Dylan?
All right, well, this was a fun one. I'm a big fan of the Planet of the Apes movies, all of them. I mean,
Except for Battle.
Well, it was still directed by J. Lee Thompson. So let's not be so quick to throw the Thompson out with the bathwater, though we probably should. So I like the cases, right? I think Maynard had a lot of good points about like where do you go after you literally blow the planet up? You go back in time. And I do think the villain Haslar is really what pulls this all together for me. Like I just like the way he kind of is cold, pragmatic, bureaucratic kind of thing.
And not wrong. Yeah.
And ultimately not wrong. And then, which raises the moral question, do the ends justify the means and things like that. And
maybe
then, of course,
Hitler, etc.
Yeah, exactly. And the president raising these philosophical points, because, how often do we see presidents as like either like empty suits or like Sorkin-esque wonder, like Superman, and like to actually have a guy who seems reasonably intelligent, able to think things through, but still be able to be political because obviously he's the president. I thought it was very well realized. I really appreciate the scientific points that Jonathan was bringing up. I mean, the fact of the matter is the whole idea of like ape society and trying to use that as a parallel to human society, it really doesn't work with what we know, but again, it makes for an interesting movie though, which is, I guess, could be part of the problem. It does help reinforce a lot of those, frankly, wrong notions that people have about the relationship between humans and apes, but I don't know if that's enough to sink the movie, or frankly, it would have to sink the whole franchise if you think.
But that's stuff
it.
we
Sounds
didn't
like
know
he
in
likes the James Franco
1971.
We might have known. Well, I mean, regardless, though, like it's as you learn, it's like as you learn more about it. Like it's one of the reasons like it's hard to watch John Carter, right? Because we know what being on Mars is really like, even though when they wrote it, like they didn't really know what Mars was going to be like. You know what I mean?
Barsoom.
So, like, yeah, right. So
chicks laying eggs.
Yeah, exactly. So it is a little discordant seeing it now with our modern understandings, and I think it's fair to judge movies based on how you're seeing them and taking them in and how you're observing them, because we can't put ourselves in a 1970s body to watch this movie. I wasn't alive and I would have had to do too many drugs apparently, and I'm not interested in that.
But there's also too many comparisons to previous movies that are not on trial here.
Well, that happens, yeah. But I think just even comparing it to the first one is valid, but I think Maynard did a good job of wedding the two very well. I think this works very well as a sequel.
See, I would argue that this is the third best of the original movies.
What's the second best?
That would be Conquest.
Ooh, interesting.
The follow-up to this, which takes place after the plague that kills all the dogs and cats, which is why monkeys were then taken in as servants. But the thing that really I noticed a lot clearer this time is that it looks a lot more like television than the other four do. And it reminded me of a joke that I repeat frequently, Dana Gould calling this Love American Style with Apes, because that is entirely fair. But I think he says that in an affectionate way, and I believe that as well. I cannot stand the criticism of Ricardo Montalban. My God, he was amazing.
Which Corinthian apes?
I love the fact that this movie is only 97 minutes long and yet packs a lot into that time.
Yes.
Problems, though, the death of Dr. Milo happened so suddenly that I did not realize it was happening. And I've seen this movie like 5 or 6 times.
I had to rewind.
He shows up
like,
underneath
poor
the
Dr.
sheet.
Milo.
He shows up on a sheet, and you're like, "Oh shit, that gorilla went really quickly." And I
love
that
they
they
probably would have had time to try to intervene. I mean, like, hit the gorilla's arm or something. They just stood there.
But I love that they
He
call
just
them
gets poor Dr. Milo,
apenauts.
and that's it.
That's my favorite part of the entire film, when the president calls them apenauts. And I love that part of the plot is questioning the existence of God and giving Zira a forced abortion, which would not happen today. Impossible to think of. Ben, what are you thinking?
I do think that this does feel a bit cheaper. I do think that was a pretty salient point on the prosecutions. It does feel a little bit more affordable. Like them going back in time, like, they're able to do a lot with that narratively by doing the time loop and mirroring the two societies. But it is also easier to, shoot things that already exist rather than
like Star Trek 4.
having to build all these sets. Yeah, exactly. Or Picard season 2.
But without the bird of prey.
Right.
They're just recycling the spaceship from the previous movie.
So that's true. And I did like hearing the scientific points. I'll have to pick up Jonathan's book on the merch table he's setting up in the back of the court there on my way out. I would like to hear his thoughts on the James Franco one. It sounded like he was more in favor of it. So maybe that one might have a little bit more teeth. I'd have to
escape from the planet of Reels of Justice. He goes back in time and he actually triggers prosecuting for James Franco's movies. I think we've got
I love it. But yeah, no, I do love Haslar. I do like no one's the villain in their own stories, and like a good, compelling villain is one where you can see their point of view. I do like the sci-fi loop of it all, how this like sort of triggers everything that happens in the later films. Back to the first one,
Bootstrap paradox.
Yeah, no, that's all pretty brilliant. I do think the acting is pretty good for the most part. It lulls at a few junctures. It would be hard to watch in a 4:30 movie format. I can't even imagine watching.
Imagine watching Beneath in the 4:30 format and coming back the next day and they blew it up. What?
How did they do that? Okay, well, let's go back 30 minutes and recap.
It is funny talking about TV. Like, that is how I saw all the Planet of the Apes movies were, just when they were on TV. So that is pretty fun.
I'm pretty convinced I would hate this movie in a 4:30 format, but I think most films that we've tried would be guilty in a 4:30 format if you have to watch it again and again like that.
Okay, so let's start locking it in, guys. Dylan, you go first.
All right. It's hard coming in, be a first-time prosecution, obviously, but I did like a lot. I really enjoyed Jonathan's book, so I'm happy to have him here to pitch in and flog in. I hope people do go out and get it. But today, this is going to be a not guilty from me with a hat tip to Maynard, because the defense he brought, it was so many of the things I was thinking when I was watching the movie, to be honest with you.
Ben?
A lot of these films, I had watched them way before, and they kind of melded in my brain a bit. So I just watched this one in a vacuum, but I found I was pretty interested in the way it went forward, and I felt Maynard's passion for how it influenced the rest of it. Haslar's a great villain. It mirrors the beats. With apologies to the prosecutor, I will have to also go not guilty. This was a fun watch.
No apologies from this guy standing here, because we're going, that's right, unanimous again. This is not guilty of being a bad movie.
It's becoming more common.
So let's go tell that very handsome judge.
Is it groupthink, man?
Oh, he's going to have to write some verdicts real quick, isn't he? Mr. Foreman, have you reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor. In the case of the People versus Escape from the Planet of the Apes, we find the defendant not guilty of being a bad movie.
Dr. Haslar.
The verdict is so rendered. Escape from the Planet of the Apes is free to go, and all in attendance will be given a free banana. I don't care if you loathe them. The doctor says you need more potassium. Court is adjourned. Best I could think of in 30 seconds.
Okay, wait a minute. Can I do an elephant? All right.
No, it turns out no.
No? Oh, okay. I need another super intelligent...
Platypus?
Oh, platypus, yeah.
It's just a duck.
All right, this is Marvelous Marvin, the talking platypus. I come from a highly evolved line of platypus that took over the world, went back in time, blew stuff up.
Platypus?
Not in the
I like
future.
Platypus Eye. I think we should
Not in the future, my friend. Let me
The
explain.
Platypus Eye is a different movie, right?
We are the platypus eye in the future. It is not a good future. You humans
It could be
live.
platypuses. Octopuses is actually correct.
That is true.
That's true. So, Jonathan Leaf, you get over here with all your book learning. How smart are platypuses compared to apes, and what do you think of that jury's verdict?
You know what's weird about this jury? I have the strange sense that I know exactly what they were saying when they were convened.
Yeah, they're very loud. Paper thin walls.
With your ear pressed to the door.
I can't explain it, but you'd think they'd be sequestered, but I have the strange sense that I really know what was on their mind.
All right, thank you. And here comes Maynard Bangs. Maynard Bangs, get over here. Watch out for my poison barbs.
Ah!
Don't touch those. All right, now.
All right.
Now,
Did you lay an egg there? Because you do
I
that.
Actually, no, but not me, though. Because they were afraid that my children would be super intelligent offspring. I've been sterilized. It's a very tragic story. It happens to the poor.
And lobotomized, I heard.
No. They kept all my lobotomies. Now, here comes
the
Maynard
most
Bangs.
backstory one interviewer's ever had.
For minutes. All right. So, first off, both octopuses and octopi are acceptable. So I think the same is true for platypuses and platypi. both are acceptable.
But not octopus's eye. That's not the thing.
No, I don't think. And platypus eye is something completely different. I think that's a James Bond one. But this was a good case. I really liked the Planet of the Apes movie. I kind of think this is the most clever one because it does so much with its budget. It's like, hey, we only need 2 apes now. We're so fucking smart. So I thought that was a really great point. But tip of the hat, Jonathan knows a lot more about apes than me. And I do agree, chimpanzees are dangerous. We might find out just how.
Ooh.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
All right, thank you all very much. That's all we have from the courthouse today. I realize I sound a lot like the turtle who lived from the Tampopo episode, but no one listened to that shit, so don't worry about it. Let's go back to the studio for post-trial analysis.
Everyone listen to Tampopo.
All right, great case. Everyone listen to Tampopo. But this was a fun case. Jonathan, what other movies were on the 430 movie? What kind of fare were they putting on there?
Gosh,
Airport.
Yeah, that sounds right. I mean, probably if you mention them, I go yes or no. I could probably remember them, but
Airport 77.
There's a large element of it's sort of like after you've gotten out of a death camp. You want to try and remember as little as possible. Of course.
Yeah, that old hat. Every time I get out of a death camp, I go for sushi. First thing. That's just me, though. So what keeps you busy, Jonathan, when you're not getting out of death camps? What do you usually do? I've heard something about a book.
Yes, I'm trying to promote this book shamelessly.
Oh, you haven't mentioned.
Yeah, no. People probably have no idea after this podcast. Believe it or not, this is actually the second podcast I've done today. Believe it or not, that's
nice.
So you could say this is the best podcast you've been on all day.
I could say that.
Go ahead and say it then, Jonathan. Say it.
I'm very grateful to come on this podcast because it's a lot of fun and you're all very funny people.
Thank you. Looks on everything. So name of this book again, just to remind people.
Primate Myth, why the latest science leads us to a new theory of human nature. And it's not questioning that we're descended from apes. We're clearly descended from apes. It's arguing that we've changed so dramatically that trying to use apes as a model for understanding humans leads to a lot of misunderstanding of things like why people get in wars, what are good forms of sexual relations, why there's preferential homosexuality, all sorts of other things. So,
those are all very interesting topics.
Why we go to the movies.
And why do primates go to the movies? Is it for sex appeal?
Mm-hmm. I don't think they go to the movies. I'm pretty sure on that one.
I think I saw a documentary starring Clint Eastwood, and I'm pretty sure that monkey went to the movies.
Okay. Jonathan, I read your book, which is exactly why I wanted to have you on the show, because it was absolutely fascinating. You really can't put it down. You do such a good job of explaining everything. I love Chapter 8 has the best title, though. Do you think humans are sexy? Here's why you do. It's wonderful. And then you brought up something that I wonder if you could touch on a little bit, because you were talking about how humans were kind of like domesticated, apes aren't domesticated. And something that you bring up in the book is that we actually seem to have more in common with like dogs, elephants, dolphins, certain types of whales. Is that so? Like, what should we be talking about, like dolphin society, the way like Jane Goodall is talking about monkeys, or not monkeys, but primates and things like that? Like, would that make more sense?
Yeah, I think so. I kind of feel about Jane Goodall, and I do have great admiration for what she did. Her research and that of her associates was extraordinary. I think, being serious now for 2 seconds, she was a little bit like Christopher Columbus. Columbus has become this kind of arch villain now in contemporary discussions, but we wouldn't have the world we have today without his bravery and his imagination and everything else. But it's not clear that he always understood what he did. And I think Goodall is a little bit like that too. She did amazing, amazing things. For instance, she actually fed some of the chimps that she dealt with by hand, which nobody else has ever done, and they won't allow people to do anymore because they are so dangerous. They're so violent and so dangerous and so strong. But whether she entirely understood, there are comments that I quote, as you know, in the book, where she makes these statements about how different chimps are, but I don't think she always entirely got it. But some of the things that she and her associates discovered is, for instance, that they engage in filial cannibalism. That is, that they will eat baby chimps. That you go, wow, that's really different than people. People do not do that.
Well,
Well, the Epstein files are showing. Okay, I won't go there. But, it's.
I mean,
it's
in certain conditions, people will eat people, and so if the apes are only doing it in very strenuous conditions with food shortages, if they're like, oh, it's Wednesday and I like some chewy baby, why the hell not? I don't feel like going out.
Punch the monkey's looking mighty tasty.
No, she for instance, she describes.
Oh, we got to punch the monkey reference finally.
Passion and Palm was a mother-daughter team.
That's gonna age well.
And Passion and Palm were not starving. They just like to eat babies, and they ate 10 that she observed.
Maybe they're good. We haven't tried, have we? I don't know. It could be a delicacy.
Yeah,
they're hard to catch. That is true.
Well, apparently not that hard.
Yeah, but anyway, very, very interesting, and it sounds like it discusses a lot of origin and where we come from, and I don't know if it touches on whether we had a helping hand or not. According to ancient astronaut theorists.
No. Stop you right there.
Okay, all right.
Because it's chapter 9. No, I'm kidding. That's not in his book. I
always ask for recommendations from our guests for movies that you think people should see. So, Jonathan, what is a movie you think people should see?
It should be.
Don't say anyway. It's way, but loose though.
So should it be in the theaters now, or
it doesn't have to be? It can be any movie you like.
Movie you want, my friend.
Well, my favorite movie is a movie that I suspect your entire audience has seen 10 times, which is This is Spinal Tap. But
good,
perfect. Oh yeah.
There's so many great movies. One, my wife and I saw a couple nights ago that I was very impressed by. It's sometimes a little too clever, but Blue Moon, this new movie with Ethan Hawke, Richard Linklater directed, is terrific.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many great movies. I love La Dolce Vita.
Well, let's pick one. How about, Jonathan? Do you want to tell me about the Blue Moon one that you liked?
You mean the one that I recommended?
Sure, that doesn't mean he can again, Ryan.
Did you see it?
Ryan did.
I did.
What do you think?
I loved it.
He recommended it. What did you like about it, though, Jonathan?
Well, very clever script, great performances. It is slow moving. Be prepared, it's slow moving.
You get to learn how Stuart Little got his first name.
Yeah, that was a little too clever.
I thought it was his mother.
Too clever.
But very clever script, and Linklater got wonderful performances out of all the actors, and it's kind of affecting at points.
Nice, excellent. Yes, Ryan did recommend it. Guests can always do it again. You're just not allowed to, Ryan.
Stuart Little's that little kid who accidentally killed his best friend's mom by hitting a baseball too hard, right?
No. Oh. Good for you.
Stuart Little is a mouse.
Yes.
I know. My joke was about Simon Birch.
He evolved from mice and then shrunk down tiny.
Hey, Maynard, you were the prosecutor.
I sure was.
Rather. Why don't you tell us what your recommendation is?
My recommendation this week is a fistful of poo thrown right in your face, and I mean that in the good way. It's 2025's Primate. A tropical getaway with friends becomes a deadly game of Marco Polo when the host pet chimpanzee, named Ben, becomes rabid and aggressive. I say a deadly game of Marco Polo because the only safe place for the characters to hide is in the pool. Because as they explain, not only can Ben not swim, but also one of the late-stage symptoms of rabies is that the infected person or animal will develop an irrational fear of water, also known as hydrophobia, which I didn't know, so you can already see the educational value of this film. Now, having your mostly female cast almost exclusively in bikinis could leave opportunity for some directors to over-sexualize their subjects. But to his credit, Johannes Roberts shows tremendous restraint, only sexualizing the girls the normal amount, but not overly so.
What's that baseline again with the scale?
Is that a reason not to see an exploitation film?
Well, seriously, though, so this film actually keeps it pretty clean on the sexy stuff, and instead it earns its R rating through sheer visceral violence and gore. This is the part you're going to like, Jonathan, because as you know, chimpanzees are dangerous. In other words, Ben's favorite movie is Face Off, if you pick up what I'm putting down.
Oh, no.
This is not made with any sense of irony, nor is it going for campy or funny. It's aiming for legitimate thrills and chills with a super scary monkey that kills. And I'm happy to report it does so through mostly practical effects, including Ben himself, who is brought to life by Colombian movement specialist Miguel Torres Umba, as well as elements of prosthetics, puppetry, and animatronics, with very minimal CGI apparently only used for touch-ups. And I think it results in a much scarier product than CGI could ever render. The tagline for this film is, "Something's wrong with Ben." And on that note, I think we can all universally agree. And if you
That's
want
what
to
it says
find
in my
out
dating
why,
profile.
Primate is currently streaming for rent or purchase at all the usual outlets. Now, this is one you should see, Jonathan. This monkey just kills people for the whole movie.
I did see it.
Oh, good. What'd you think?
Oh, what'd you think?
No comment.
You can say it's bad.
I
I didn't
recommend
like
that.
it.
Movie.
No.
Okay, tell us what you didn't like
Yeah,
about it.
yeah,
Is he
I
too
would say
violent?
because it's
Monkeys are
curious.
dangerous, but not this dangerous?
I didn't like the movie, but it's interesting. Critics actually really responded to it. Audiences had much lower ratings on the tomato meter than critics did.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I it definitely was dark and it's
meter
definitely
for you.
violent. Yeah, that's the tomato meter. You can't really predict it. Who knows?
I'll wait for the Schlender 5 review.
Yeah, oh dang man, good line. Ebert, R.I.P. that hack. We would have been able to tact whichever way he would. He's like the Jim Cramer of movie reviewers.
Speaking of the Jim Cramer of movie reviewers, Big Ben, what is your recommendation?
Releasing just 1 year before today's film, my recommendation, A Journey into Chinese Cinema, is actually technically from Taiwan. But it takes place in China and is one of the early wuxia films. It's A Touch of Zen, for when a dollop, dab, or smidge of Zen is just too much.
A dollop.
What strikes me most about this film is the way it looks. It feels like it's got all the strengths of analog before digital was even on anybody's mind. The yellow grains, the green crumbly ruins, the sunbeams and bamboo all look fantastic when presented this way. It's a film that would look great on a constant loop in the background of some hip Asian fusion bar or something like that. Ooh. This film is a bit on the longer side with 3 acts, each shifting the focus from where the others were from a well-meaning artist who seemingly gains superpowers and a clarity of purpose after having sex, and then they go on the run, and then they try to trick their pursuers by falsely believing a place is haunted, and then somehow turns into a heavy-handed Buddhist propaganda film at the end. And while parts of the story didn't resonate with me, and I might have reworked the narrative a bit, I'm not mad at this film at all, because this thing is a total 70s wuxia vibe and did pretty much everything right visually, planting the seeds that would develop into one massive genre.
Does
Finally
everything right.
recommending a King Who film. Congratulations, Ben.
Took me a while. It took me, how many episodes are we at? 302?
Whoa, Doctor Who became a king? That's pretty impressive. I was going to say, does everything right visually is what's on my dating profile, Ben. Now let's send this over to Ryan. What have you got for us?
My recommendation this week is a film that I wanted to see in theaters but never came to my town, 2023's Sing Sing. It stars the great Coleman Domingo as an inmate in the titular prison who heads a rehabilitation through the arts program, therapeutically allowing incarcerated men to process their aggression and feelings of hopelessness through acting in plays for the rest of the prison. Most of the cast consists of actual former convicts who participated in the real-world program playing themselves, lending an air of verisimilitude and authenticity that most films set in similar worlds struggle to accomplish. It acknowledges that we're all human and that our worst mistakes need not define us. As for why Coleman Domingo didn't win Best Actor in 2024, it's beyond me. It would have been neck and neck between him and Ryan Gosling. But Sing Sing is currently streaming on what used to be Max.
Oh, well, we know Ryan Gosling can barely sing.
We did that whole movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. All right, Schlenzer, you're going to send us on home?
Oh, man. I've been really good at actually writing down the movies I've been watching, so I have a cache of recommendations that I'll slowly be working through as the weeks go on. And at the top of that very eclectic list, I'm not going to surprise anyone with a 2025 hacker, The Bayou. Painful by-the-number survival horror. A tourist plane crashes in the bayou, but it's really the Everglades, and the survivors are hunted by methed-up alligators. You know, that old chestnut.
Methigator.
Like I said, this is your standard point-and-click paint-by-numbers horror hacker, so it is perfect for putting on when your guts are so jammed up, it hurts to sit up. Yeah, I was couch-ridden when I watched a lot of these, so I'm happy to report it is streaming on Hulu, so be sure to pay for the ad-free version because you don't want this to last any longer than it has to. Support your local library.
So what was so bad about it? They're methed up gators. They're all CGI, I assume. That's a big problem, right?
Yeah. No, it's fine. Did you not hear me say it's a perfectly serviceable hacker?
Oh, good. Eye candy? Is there eye candy for Jonathan?
A little bit.
Okay, eye candy for you, Jonathan. You're in.
She's grieving the whole time because her brother's dead. It's like,
oh, they'll try to add character
sad.
development. Don't do that, filmmakers. Don't do that.
At the end, she's like spreading his ashes, and it's like, I don't think we ever got to meet him. Why do we care? You know?
I'm glad I carried these through that whole Methigator field.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, I'll probably have to check that one out. It sounds pretty okay.
No, it's our kind of movie, Maynard. It's no turbulence, but
what could be? But with that, we are all at a show. We want to thank our friend and our guest, Jonathan Lee, for joining us. You're a friend now, too, Jonathan. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
And remind everyone the name of your book that you barely mentioned.
Yeah, the Primate Myth. Yeah, why the latest science leads us to new theory of human nature.
We're gonna check that out. I assume it's on all the usual platforms, the Amazons and all that. You have a website you want people to get it through, like your own?
Yeah, you just look for my name, Jonathan, with 2 A's and Leaf, Leaf.
Where are the 2 A's?
Well, Jona. There's something
right at the beginning.
JonaThon. I don't know why.
Oh, okay, all right.
Those people need a lot of help. They need a lot of psychiatric help.
That's it. If they should visit Kim Hunter and her high sex appeal, I agree.
Right.
We're going to have you back, Jonathan, and we hope everyone else will join us again as well, as the reels of justice keep turning.
Count it.
Apenauts.
Please follow us on Twitter at Reels of Justice, Instagram Reels of Justice, and Facebook.com/Reels of Justice.